So we're in the New Testament. So I'm not going to make you say all of the Old Testament books of the Bible. So what do you know about the New Testament books of the Bible? What? Stella wants to see the phone. New Testament books of the Bible. What's the first one?
Matthew.
Anybody else?
Mark.
Philip says Matthew. Yes, Matthew. Then Mark, and we talked about Mark the last time you were up here. So what's the next one?
Luke.
Guess what we talked about today? Not Lark, but Luke. Mark, we learned that he used a word. Philip's Bible had the word often. He had to read it, and it said, do you remember the word, Philip? Not really. Immediately. He used quickly, immediately, right now. We got to do this stuff. Mark was kind of impatient. I can relate to that. Luke is different. He is one of the only, actually, to my knowledge, he is the only author of any book in the Bible that was not Jewish. So do you know what? If you're not Jewish, you know what you are? Yep, a Gentile. Luke was the only writer of a book of the Bible that was not a Gentile. Do you know anything else about Luke? Maybe I've heard him called something before. Was he one of the 12 apostles? I made you, we went through saying them last week, but I'm not going to do that this week.
I think so.
You think so? Anybody else vote? Was Luke one of the 12 apostles?
No.
He was not one of the 12 apostles. Luke, he was a believer and a follower of Christ, but he was not one of the 12 apostles. He and Mark was not one of the 12 apostles either. So their views, I think, of the New Testament are a little bit different, but also good, because we can see different things. Luke was also a doctor. He was a medical doctor. He was Greek, I believe, a Greek medical doctor. And he has a little bit different perspective. He's very detail-oriented. You know what that means?
Micah knows.
Yeah, he's trying to get our attention anyway. Detail-oriented, what's that mean?
He notices every little detail.
Yeah, notice things, right? Like Philip, when he'll watch a song and they're like, oh, we didn't sing that line. I got to mark that down because I got to take care of it, right?
Yeah.
I see him do that during the service. That's being detail-oriented. He's very detail-oriented. So he includes some stories that aren't included in the other Gospels, the first 4 books of the New Testament called the Gospels. A couple of the things he does is he talks about the Good Samaritan. Know that story? Do you remember that story? That's in Luke. They think the details, like he gave Jesus's birth. He also talked about the shepherds, which the other Gospels don't. But he also talks about John the Baptist, is how he talks about Jesus's birth from beginning with John the Baptist, because John the Baptist's birth was foretold too. So we have John the Baptist. He talks about, it's how he talks about the birth of Jesus. He probably got that information from Jesus's mom, is what they think, because he probably wasn't there. He didn't know. So they think they got it from Jesus's mom, that he visited with Jesus's mom and got that information. He also talks more about women in the Bible than a lot of other writers, the Gospels at least. And he talks about the poor, and one of his points of emphasis is that Jesus was a son of man as much as he was son of God. He believes he was God's son, but he also lived on the earth and had to go through the same things men had to go through. So he also kind of emphasizes that. So he has some interesting things and different viewpoints. One of the things I think is interesting is, Sophia, you want to reach behind your head? Our little cards are there. I'm going to you can pass them down. There should be one for everybody. It's always interesting to see how it gets accomplished. So look at that verse. You can just set the others behind you. Give one to Andrea. There, Micah can learn that. This is actually from Luke 1, 3 through 4, right? Sophia, would you read it? When you get to that hard word, I'll help you.
Therefore, since I myself carefully investigated everything from the beginning, it seemed good also to me to write an orderly account for you. Most
Excellent. Theophilus.
excellent philosophy.
It's a tricky word, Theophilus.
So that you may know that certainly of all the things you have been taught.
So he's saying that when they got together in the upper room and they just said, hey, we should write these things about Jesus' life down, he may not have been there right away. They think maybe he didn't write until 15 or 20 years later. But he decided to write too and kind of fill in gaps and give more details. So he did. But that word Theophilus, I don't know if I say it right either, but that's what we're going with. Does it sound like a person? It may have been a person. It may have been a believer that he was trying to influence, probably a Gentile, that could have been new to learning about Jesus' life. But Theophilus really means lover of God. And so some people think that maybe instead of just being a person he's talking to, maybe he's talking to all believers or to anybody that loves God, which I thought was interesting. And he's talking to Gentiles just as well as Jews, which everybody else was from the Jewish perspective. So I think that's interesting about Luke. So that is your verse to go through this week. There are papers in the back if you want to use them and to learn more about Luke. But it's an interesting book of the Bible, so I encourage you to read it. Thank you.